What's up everybody, it's 2Bricks and I'm back with the next installment of my Think Like a Designer series, which of course currently revolves around redesigning the Stinger Mantis to much more closely resemble what I would consider to be a UCS type of model, and just filling in all of the things that I just really couldn't figure out how to do last time technique-wise. So last week I just had a very rough prototype of the sort of way that the wing mechanism was going to fold and revolve around this structure. I've obviously worked on it a ton since then, so I'm very excited to get into the details with you. Sorry about the kind of visually confusing way that I have this set up, but the old Stinger Mantis is back here. I just wanted to give you guys a scale comparison. They're virtually identical. And then the new one is in front. Obviously, thus far, I only have the revolving section, the wing, and or the wings and the engine. So yeah, I'm really excited to get into this today. I have a bunch of new things and interesting kind of tidbits to share with you about the design of this that I'm very excited about. I think this is superior in every way. Obviously, it's not exactly fair because I've pilfered a bunch of parts from my original Stinger Mantis here to put into the new one. So you can see here a lot of the patching and stuff is missing now, but overall, the look I think is far superior with the studless and much thinner, much more elegant wing design. And same goes for the engine. I've completely redesigned this engine here to be much more accurate and just generally much nicer looking than its predecessor. So very excited to get into that. I just put my custom figures down here. If you guys didn't see, I have videos about those. I made a custom helmet for Second Sister here to in anticipation of this project getting underway, if it'll ever focus. And then also I have my grease, so they're just waiting. They're waiting to hop into the new ship. So yeah, if you want to give those a look and see how I sculpted some clay, if you're interested in that, that's a fun little look into a different side of custom Lego building. But yeah, let's get into the video for today. I'm very excited to show you all of the progress. You can see is the beginnings of the progress of the update. So the wing obviously is a huge update to the old one in terms of how it's constructed. Previously there was underside of plates on the back side here of this, and then on the front side was studs. Now I have designed it to where both sides are tiled off, and it looks much more attractive, I think, on both sides. I'm able to mirror the design completely, get that nice symmetry going, and you know, you don't have to look at the unpleasant texture of underside studs, which I know a lot of people really dislike, so that's a huge bonus. Also, the shape of the wing is able to be a lot more accurate because I'm not relying on large wedge plate pieces to build up the majority of the bulk of it. This is all custom made throughout, and I'm going to actually peel off some surface details here in a little bit and show you how I did the interior. But it's fairly similar to something like the UCS shuttle Tidarium in that it's, you know, a single brick of thickness with some special sort of technique and you know, bricks with studs on the side to hold everything together. And then I have the side wing here and the newly designed engine that's obviously also dramatically different, and the landing gear looks different as well. So I've actually cheated a little bit on this one, but I think that the in-game designers cheated as well with the Stinger Mantis, because as I was watching over and over again, watching the landing and takeoff cycles of the Stinger Mantis, these landing gear really do just literally grow out of the ship. They do it in stages, so you kind of question it less. Your brain just accepts that those things can tuck into one another, but it really is impossible the way that it all functions. So what I've done is I've created the part of the cylinder that will fold in, and then once you fold it out, you attach a couple of extra pieces on each, or sub-assemblies to each side, to create the full landing gear that will be, you know, your permanent kind of display version. So yeah, really excited about how that's turning out, because it just looks so much more accurate to the game, and you can see it's standing on its own, you know, without any need for a front gear, you know, the third piece of the tripod. So you can already tell that it's doing its job, so really happy about that. And then lastly, I have a mechanism to release the wings. So on either side there's a catch that you will untether to freely rotate the wings around, so I'm very excited to show you that as well. So I'm going to go handheld from here on out, and I can just get in there and show you all the details up close. It's all very exciting, so here we go. All right, so before I get in and show you all the functionality, I just wanted to give you an up-close look at this new studless design, because I think it looks very effective. I mean, I say studless, obviously there are still some visible studs. I do like to keep it that way because, you know, I want people, oops, I want people to know that it is Lego that they're looking at. Sorry, it does balance, but it's obviously a little bit precarious, so I just tipped it forward too much there. And also the weight of this engine is pulling it forward a little bit. So I'll just, actually, let me just take that off and then I'll show that to you separately. Okay, with that removed, it's much happier to stand on its own. It's not as precarious. So yeah, essentially what I've done is I've centered up the engine as compared to the previous one where it was a little bit off-center, where now I have this solid core on the inside of this, which is comprised of brickheads, you know, the two by, I forget exactly you know what I mean, the brickheads, skull pieces, I guess, that hold them all together. And, you know, those are alternated facing up, facing down, all the way through, and then that just holds together this whole shape with some surface plating on the top to complete the look. And then across the side here we have just these two Technic plates, which then engage with the wing like so, and then holds it in place very, very nicely. And so, you know, having that be centered up is just such a tiny little detail and such a tiny thing that never really detracted from the previous version because it was so minimally off-center, but I knew, so it bugged me. And the other thing is I've much more carefully, because of the techniques and the way that I'm approaching this in a more modular fashion, I've been able to much more freely detail up this engine to look in-game accurate. So I have this vent section down here. I have the way in which this back section with the fins actually attaches into a much more accurate mounting here. These little fins that stick out that are represented now, and all this little surface greebly detail, of which I've tried to be very, very faithful to the color scheme and the overall layout of the thing. I've also redesigned the way that these little fins or veins or whatever those are supposed to be, the way that they look. So there's now 3 on top and 3 on bottom, and they are you know, in line with each other, whereas previously they were offset on the previous design. So it was like you know, 3 on the top and then 2 on the bottom in the middle there. So I think that all works just much, much, much better, and I'm very, very proud and pleased with how all of it turned out. So yeah, so the back portion here is identical to what it was before, but everything else, oh, and this front ring is the same, but everything else has changed since the first iteration. So very happy with that. And I have tested it when the wing is down in the vertical downward configuration. This engine still holds in just fine. It doesn't want to fall out or anything like that. And then you can see here I've nicely detailed up the sides and the undersides of the wings, and we have a little engine detail strip through here with this kind of greebly trench, and then going up through the wing here. Again, tried to be nice and accurate in terms of the placement of these dark gray sections and the vents and all the little extra details that poke out of the side, because, you know, if we're doing a version 2, right, we may as well do it right. So that is the idea here, and there you go. And, you know, this time around I'm representing the yellow stripes using bricks laid on their side as opposed to plates that were stuck onto the surface of the model, so that created extra relief. This looks much more like it's been painted on to the surface than the previous version did. So yeah, really, really pleased with that. So let me go ahead and start removing some elements to show you kind of how all of this works. Okay, so the first thing I want to show you is the landing gear. So the two attachable sections that I was referring to are this portion here, which is the bottom foot, and then it just clips on here with these 2 studs into the end of this little section here that folds up into the ship. And then with those 2 studs, it rests quite comfortably in the exact right spot where the curve slope just comes up against these 2 studs that are exposed here, and it just sits at the exact right angle, and it doesn't create any pressure or anything because it's pushing up onto the underside of this and it's being supported. So it doesn't want to pull itself off is what I'm saying, and that was crucial because there was definitely some tension and some strain in the previous design that after a while it would want to kind of tip over to one side, and, you know, it's just a little bit janky in the way that it actually worked. This is much more sturdy and secure, and it has the added functionality where it's centered up so it's more accurate, and then also it can be folded up into the ship much more seamlessly as part of the kind of overall cylinder design. So then in here I have these 2 support struts, one on either side, And those are to basically keep the this flappy section aligned correctly to where it's supposed to be in terms of, you know, the inside of the ship. So you remove both of those. So 2 removable elements for each of the landing gear, and then it tucks up perfectly seamlessly. And you can see here I'm using double ball joints, one on either side, to hold this in place and make it nice and secure. And then it gives it that nice sense of friction when it opens, and it's very smooth in the way that it opens. So not relying on clips for anything that requires strength this time around. So the only 2 sections of the cylinder that still have clips are these parts right here, and only because of the certain requirements of the design where it pertains to the landing gear opening flaps. But on the top, which I'll show you now, these sections here I've completely removed the need for the clips, and instead attach them using some very tricky sideways building. And it's actually different on this section and this section right here. So the outer rings have a different technique to the inner rings. So I'm going to show you those right now. Okay, so those of you who remember in the previous video, I was saying that there is an available stud on the inside of these quarter cylinder bricks right here, and that I may try to take advantage of that to attach these panels without requiring any clips, and that is what I've done. So you can see here I've attached a jumper plate to one of these brickheads pieces for this central section, and then I've just wedged it into that one remaining stud, and it fits exactly with enough room to allow it to rotate still freely around the central base. So then you just simply place this down here on those studs, and then for these sections on the outside, I'm using a bracket piece, so it's slightly different geometry. So you'll see here these sections stick up slightly further than these, creating this little tiny lip here, but I actually really like that look because it kind of gives a little bit of a mechanical paneled separate look to each of the ring sections, like they're both slightly different pieces, which of course they actually are, and then it just kind of helps to delineate that a little bit. So yeah, these outer sections for the blue are held in using these interesting kind of 1x2 rounded plates with the holes in, and then those just plug into the anti-stud interior holes of each of those right there. I don't actually strictly need to use these pieces here, but I just found that the clutch on these particular molds just seemed to be slightly improved upon when compared to using regular plates. But I'm going to experiment with that a little bit because I feel like it might just be the plates that I had on hand that were maybe older or something, because technically I think the clutch should be pretty much identical for both of these, but needless to say, that still functions either way, and then you can just place it back in there like so, and the 2 studs are enough to hold it in place just fine. And we're not going to really be handling this inner section anyway. Most of the rotating will be done from the wings. You'll be kind of grabbing either the top wing or the side wing there. So let me go ahead and pop this engine back in so you can get a full kind of look of how it all feels together. Really pleased with that. So yeah, excellent. So next up, I'm going to show you the kind of catch or latch design that I came up with for either side here. But let me put it back on its landing gear first so you can I can show it to you more freely. So with the gear back in place, I just wanted to quickly show you where this piston detail literally just tucks into the little corner that is created in here, the little kind of 90-degree area, and it just finds a little spot in there that it wants to sit in, and it just tucks in there, and that kind of keeps it at the exact right position to hold everything together. So it's kind of a miracle that it works, but it works. And so there you go. So I just want to be clear also, this stuff in here is all still temporary. This up here is all still temporary, and this back here is temporary. I'm just figuring out how I want this to be achieved. So basically, in the previous design of the Mantis version 1, there was sort of a 3-pronged Technic axle assembly that you would remove that was all kind of attached as one piece. You pull it from the top, and it would disengage from various Technic bricks hidden within the structure that would then keep them pinned or unpinned, depending, right? This time around, I opted for something much more simple because I wanted to A, free up the space back here to do some other storage and other compartments and things. Primarily, I want to be able to have a space to store the landing gear when you're not using it. So this section back here, I previously did have a little lightsaber customization area that you could pull down out of the back. I want to expand the storage usage for this back section. So that was job one. So the simplest way that I found to keep all of this together is to just simply have a structure that, let me pull one out to show you, is literally just a little notch that sits here with a structure that goes on either side of the wings, and it's you know, on a little rail system here, so it can just move in and out, and then it just catches the top and bottom, or catches the top wing here and the structure for the bottom wing all in one go. So you can see that the blue and the white are being held in place, and there's one on either side, and this one I actually attached using a rubber band because I wanted to have it where when it's in the correct alignment it'll snap back into place. But I think I may end up taking that out because it does make it a little bit more fiddly. But I did want to show you the internal structure here that I came up with for that rubber band system. So it's just using these relatively new, the two rounded plates with the bars that go in between them, all as one single piece, kind of monkey kid sets came with those, a lot of those. And then the rubber band just sits along the middle of those. And then these little Technic axles with the end cappers on them keep it to the right kind of, you know, distance in and out for the structure to go. But I think I'm going to rethink that, and actually I'm going to just use these rail slider pieces and just build in a stop into the actual design, so it can only go so far, which would be, you know, as far as you need it to. So then you'll be able to disengage both, and then the wing will be free to move like so. And then let me just, oh right, I still have the landing gear engaged, so I got to disengage that one more time, and then I can show you the swiveling. 1 second, I'll be back. Okay, so yeah, you do need to have the landing gear portions folded up here in order to properly use these mechanisms. So you'll have both catches disengaged. I'll actually just take this one out, and then you lift this one up, and that allows for the free rotation of the top and bottom wings. Now obviously, currently, there's no rest of the ship to stabilize, to hold, you know, in place. So everything is just sort of loosey-goosey, and I'm holding it with both hands, and it's very awkward. But when the actual rest of the ship is here, it's going to give you all of this bulk on front and back, and it's going to make it so that the largest thing that's moving isn't the wing. You know, the actual body is going to be kind of here for you to hold on to. So the way I'm doing it now looks very awkward indeed. But what I'm going to do is actually just remove both of these. So I'm going to take this one off as well, like so. So I can show you that as a separate piece. So yeah, just a very simple, very simple, you know, rubber band mechanism there. And before that goes away, I just wanted to give that some shout out for you guys, so you can see how I did it. And I did try to blend it in also as much as possible into the design, so that it wouldn't be out of place. And then yeah, you can see here the free rotation of both elements is possible. And the reason that I'm using front and back supports this time, so 2 catches instead of 1, is that the way that this wing is designed, it has the 2 thinner rings on the outside, so this one and this one, that then attach to this central wing. But there isn't that much support, so that this wing here, particularly with the heaviness of the engine up front here, wants to flex, and when it flexes it doesn't want to rotate as nicely. So and also, like, it kind of wants to droop at the front when it's just sitting on display. So by having a catch on both sides, you distribute the weight of that a little bit more evenly, and then that allows for much more stable, you know, central kind of position there. But yeah, I'm really happy with this design. I think that it's just turning out exactly as I would have wanted it to, and the kind of the thinness, the flatness, the paneled look that you get from this new design, I just think it's such a huge step up from before that I just couldn't be more thrilled. So here, let me remove this rubber band section here. I'll just place this back in place so you can kind of see how it's going to be. So this will literally just be, you know, free to move out of place and free to move out of place like so, and then you'll be able to move the wings. So yeah, really happy with that. Now the only thing I have to do is figure out how to integrate the front portion of the design back into this and try to reuse as much of what was in the previous model as possible, at least the pieces, so that you guys aren't having to buy a ton more pieces, because this whole wing engine and the vertical wing here, the sail, are already a ton of extra parts. I mean, on the surface, there's a lot of stuff that is taken from the previous design, but on the internals, it's all completely different. So that's going to be, you know, a little bit of cost there already. And I want to try to minimize that as much as possible, because Lego is expensive, as I always say. as I always say, like I'm the first person to note that Lego is expensive, but you know what I mean. But yeah, so really happy with that. So let me go ahead and peel off some of these panels and show you guys how the wing was built. Okay, so you can see here, technique-wise, it's actually fairly simple. It's relying on the brick-to-plate brick spacing that allows for Lego plates to be attached onto the side of these exposed studs. And each one of these is the brick with studs on both sides. So I'm just able to attach the same things front and back. And then I'm just spacing them out where I need them to be in order to attach the various surface details that I want to attach. And then the more of them that I have in a row that are attached by a single subassembly like this, the more it clamps the whole thing in together. But there aren't too many spots that go like all the way through, like this part right here, it kind of goes front to back. But a lot of the details, just because of the necessity of the patterns, they don't go right the way through the design, but it's still plenty strong enough. And there are enough spots that do, like for example, this gray stripe here, I've extended it to go all the way back so that it will, you know, it will clamp everything into place front to back. So you know, you get the maximum stability there. And then in the back section here, I've reversed the stud direction. So I have this whole subassembly in here, which is held in at multiple points, but I'm relying on, again, these very, very handy rounded 2x2s with the holes in them. And then I'm using the new 2x2 bar pieces to create essentially just a reverse direction brick. Wow, that is really in there. My goodness. All right, well, later on I'm going to have to go get like a tool to remove these, but I actually may end up just using one bar to hold all these together because I don't think I need that much stability. But yeah, then that reverses the stud direction, gives me a brick that can go the other direction. And then I have a couple of other similar type of designs, but not quite the same, that run through here. So I have this one section here where there's a bar that is attaching to a stud with a hole in it, attached to this, and then reversed on the other side to hold all this kind of sub-assembly in place. So yeah, I'm employing every trick in the book that I have at my disposal that I know of to get this studless snot look for the wings. And yeah, again, I just couldn't be happier with how it turned out. Front to back, I think it's a gigantic, across-the-board improvement on the original. The thinness, the elegance, the more studless look. It just looks so much more professional and sleek. And yeah, I'm so proud, so happy. There you go. So yeah, let me go ahead and put everything back the way that it's supposed to be. Like so. Sorry, again, it's very fiddly right now with everything being half built. But if I can get it, I wanted to do this on camera so that it's you can see that even in this half finished state, it is not that hard to do. Okay, there you go. So it took up a little bit of fiddling, but it wasn't too bad. So yeah, there you go. There is the Stinger Mantis progress. And I actually ended up not changing any of the internal structure of this that I showed you from week 1. So that actually is a testament to how well that all turned out, because I didn't need, there was nothing that was kind of unforeseen that I had to change. It was all just figuring out how to attach the correct relevant colors and extra pieces that I needed, like the whole wing assembly and, you know, the side wing. But yeah, it turned out great. So really pleased with the progress. I can't wait to show you the next one. I'm guessing it's going to be almost, if not completely finished by that point. And I will be making changes to the interior because, you know, again, there's things that over time I've noticed I could make better. And since we're doing version 2, we may as well implement all of those things, right? We want the best possible model that we can have, so we don't have to have a version 3. And hopefully it'll be out before the game comes out, but you never know. They may beat me on that one. But yeah, we'll see. So I'm going to get to work on the next video because I have so many more things to bring you. And I'm obviously very excited about finishing this up, so I have to hurry up and get to work. But I really do thank you for watching this video. If you made it to this point, I really appreciate it. If you could drop me a like or a subscribe if you haven't already done so, that helps the channel to grow, and it helps YouTube to know that you appreciate the content that I'm making. And right now I'm actually just stalling for time so I can get the landing gear back on. But for those of you who've already seen through my ruse and clicked off, that's okay. I appreciate you guys that are still here. So there you go, last bit of landing gear on, and we're back. All right, so thank you guys again so much for watching. I'll see you on the next video, and may the force be with you.